Mirage variant is. I believe this one was Electro Charge. This is a great example of a Mirage variant that is not great for Deja. The Electro Charge is, I think it's a very good augment if you play around Yone, but around Deja it can be a little awkward. And so without a proper 4-cost AP carry, you just don't have that many options. The 10-cost dragons are very expensive, very difficult to play around, or at least to force. And so that's one of the reasons I think that flex play has been, I don't know if necessarily weaker, but just felt very different this set.
Yeah, it's felt like it's been more contextual on the flex play angles. Like sometimes you just don't have the opportunity to really play for flex. And I think these opening augments that we just saw Robin re-roll here on the 2-1 augments of the game were a pretty prime example of that as well. It's everything felt a little bit dedicated in all of the picks, and that doesn't feel like the way that Robin tends to play the game at all. He doesn't really dedicate to something this early because he knows that his gold's going to be spent very aggressively, and he knows that that's likely to change over time. If you take that dedication now, where do you end up, at 3-2, at 4-1?
Yeah, and you're looking at the options there. He actually had three very good options. So Thrill of the Hunt is obviously always going to be safe, but it's never a particularly sexy option. And then he also had the Hot Shot, which would grant him a Tristana. You look at his board, that would be a Trist pair, which would be very good. But unfortunately, the last option was the Ornn item, and I feel like with Portable Forge, that is almost always an insta-take. It's just, especially early, you get something like this Executioner here. Even if you lose, if you can kill a couple units, there's 1 gold already. It is way too good, right?
It's a Heimer 2 with trainers in play as well. I feel like the trainers feel so good on the strong part this set. It just feels like that the absolute highlight is when you have like the Master and the Apprentice. You have the 2-star and the 1-star trainer, and that Namzi really starts ticking away early.
Yeah, and he just got a double gold there too. I mean, it just snowballs so hard and so fast if you get that Portable Forge, and then lets him buy you that extra Heimerdinger. Heimer comes in, gets the extra stack anyway. It's just very, very strong start for Robin.
I went over to K3 Soju's board now. This is one of your picks that you have online, Keen, in this one, and an Astral start with an Astral augment. This feels like a pretty rare opening to see.
Yeah, definitely a pick I have zero regrets about making in the draft. Very highly confident. Actually, Soju is one of these players. Again, this has to be one of the highest variance picks I make. He's still one of the top ranked players on ladder right now, partially because he was slamming up till a couple weeks ago, even if he hasn't been slamming this week. So it's not like he doesn't know what he's doing. This Astral Orb is going to be an interesting augment. I'm kind of curious what you even go with it from this spot. It's either Mages or Varus, right?
I feel like it has to be either Mages or Varus. I mean, maybe you can go to like an Evoker angle or something, but that's, again, kind of highly influenced by the augment choice. Yeah. Right now, it feels like that Soju's focus is mainly the economy, and then we'll figure it out sort of angle.
Yeah, he's got a bow, he's got a tier. You can really lean either way in terms of Mage or Varus. At this point, because he's losing, I don't see him tempoing up into an Aesah play. And so it might also just depend on the second augment here and what item he gets. Like if there's a bow Varus on the carousel, that's going to really spell it out for him, right? But I do expect him to lean towards looking for a belt just to get that Sunfire online early.
Yeah, pretty heavy dedication here to the economy angle. I think he's going to lean into this very heavily. This seems like a pretty common thing to have. I'd say when your opening boards are weak and you have this much gold to work with, is that the winning option, while it is certainly appealing, it's certainly much more difficult to do with this style of opening. Take your 5 loss streak, take the health that you're at, and then figure it out with empowering your board with that heaping pile of gold you're going to have leading into the 3-2 augment.
76 is about as bad as it's going to get at this point as well. He just took 5 from Robin, who pre-leveled to 5 here just to get the extra win. And of course, Robin can do it because he's singing Executioner's Calling. It's a very strong spot for Robin. He's got that Gargoyles on the Silas in the front line. He's got backline damage. He's got the Namzi stacks going. He got the early Lulu. This is a very, very good spot for Robin.
Yeah, Robin's looking absolutely super strong in this one. And Nico taking a small hit here as well, up 10 gold, and does have an Evoker emblem sitting on the front line with Shen. A little bit of extra health and some extra mana to make sure that Shen is going to cast.
Yeah, that augment just it's a good augment to take with the invoke. Oh no, did he get it? Yeah, he got the emblem because it gives you an early Lulu, which helps you start stacking the Namzi early.
Always trying to look at those augments and see how it's shaping the players and influencing how they're going to pick things. Every time I see a cybernetic augment, I feel like that you can be so much more macro with your carousel picks and how you decide to assemble your items, because you're getting a benefit just by spreading out your items.
Yeah, you always want to look around early and see what kind of augments people have. Like, if you're in a lobby, for example, with 7 people that have early win streak augments, like Gadget this is going to be one of those augments that's like, you know, going to help people win early, getting the extra damage from the static shiv, but then also getting the static shiv. Stuff like this, we saw a Better Together, which gives the locket early. We saw, obviously, Robin's board being extremely strong. We saw a Trade Sector. There were just a lot of early win streak augments here. And so for people that are playing those win streak augments like Soju, and I think I saw Clear Mind as well, they're going to be in a world of hurt, taking maybe more damage than they would have liked to.
Oh boy. This is Darth Nub is my 4th pick of the fantasy draft, and I'm really glad to see the Aatrox here piloting these items. I feel like Aatrox is such a strong carrier for the items early on that when you have a 2-star one plus it's with a gadget expert no less to amplify the amount of damage you're going to be delivering. That was absolutely one of the worst comps I think that Soju could have run into, because he was taking a 5-unit hit almost no matter what against that board.
Yeah, I mean, Soju's taking 5, he's taking 5 again, and you're looking at about 56 if he's lucky, 60 health, and that is not a very good spot for him to be. That's an early Yone too, and that's gonna, especially with electric overload, this is a very strong early spot to be for Darth Nub. I'm surprised to see, I'm curious if he's trying to make 20 here, because yeah, this is obviously much stronger to keep the Aatrox in.
Yeah, I think the look here is the risk of getting to 20 versus the risk of losing the 5-win streak. I think the 5-win streak is the main focus, but inherently there is a risk involved with that. He's going to go with the stronger board option. Don't blame him. Up against Robin, great choice. But versus an Infinity Edge and a Gold Collector with an actual frontline unit.
Yeah, you see the Gunblade Simon as well. This is an easy win for Darth Nub with the electric overload. There's not enough damage and not enough tank on the other side. Robin's going to eat a lot of damage here, but this guy is farming a bit of gold for him. Oh, he did get 2 X's at the end there. Unfortunate for Robin. Those 2 gold could have been the difference between getting 20 or not. And unfortunately, he just low rolls.
Darth Nub and Liquid Kurumx going to be starting things off with 5 win streaks. I will say that this is a very common highlight for me, is who's able to pick up the 5 win streak ones. And one of the biggest ones I look at is always the players who don't typically play from the tempo aspect. They're going to be much more focused on economy. When they pick up a 5 win streak, I feel like it's one of the scariest things in the game that you can see. But for players like Liquid Kurumx and Darth Nub, I feel like the tempo is always going to be a heavy option for them. So I feel like the 5 win streak just really isn't that uncommon here.
Yeah, I mean, 5 win streak. I mean, you give me a 5 win streak going into this stage, I'm taking it every time. It's way too good a spot to be. I mean, I don't know if there's numbers looking at each individual stage, but I would bet you that the top 4 rate for a 100 win streak here, and this is very obvious, is extremely high, even in tournament play. It's so hard to play econ style, even on ladder, that I think tournament play is double, where everybody's playing aggressive. And coming back here, you basically, if you're where Soju is, you have to roll everything down in one turn, and then you have to hit enough things to stabilize, and then win streak all of stage 3 and all of stage 4, or you're going bot 4. And so he's in a position now where he needs to be able to win next turn, and if he doesn't, you start seeing him dropping rounds here or there, then he is boned.
Nico is the board we're jumping into to kick off stage number 3, and I am seeing a pair of Volibears as an option here with an Anivia with some pretty stacked items right now, but Soju has got a Siphon online right now. For a Nico, I am really curious if he's just leaning into the Volibear angle here, or if this is just like a hold on to these for an option sort of spot.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if he does it as well, because these items are pretty good if you're going to try with frontline Anivia. If you're lucky, you can get like a Dragonmancer spat and really go for the 6-Mancer frontline Anivia play, something that Milk actually really likes doing. But the gold is a little awkward here, and we'll see if he decides to pick it up or not. This fight does appear to be going so... Well, this is tight.
Uh-oh. Yeah, this is
the
going a little bit south here. Wow.
That's a huge win.
Streak.
Yeah, huge win for Soju, though, because he's going to roll it this turn now, and with the Varus commit, as long as he hits Varus 2, he hits Alawi 2, he'll be able to stabilize. And these are good augments. We got Gadget Expert, we got Celestial Blessing. Both are nice to see.
I'm really liking the Celestial Blessing here. If Varus ends up being the angle that you completely dedicate towards, this is
Varus,
just
I agree.
Free lifesteal.
You love CB, but the thing with CB is you love it as your last augment more than you love it as like a second or a first augment. It just has much more value as the game goes on. Your unit gets a bit stronger, but the early Siphon hit is going to really stabilize Soju here. I do expect to see him roll it for a Varus 2 at the minimum.
It's a bit of Alawi off the orb.
looks like he is choosing to... No, okay, he is rolling slowly. Okay, he's just keeping the econ up. So he's at a spot where he thinks, because of Celestial Blessing and because of this Siphon, that he's going to be able to stabilize. And he might be right, but the rest of his board is... like, he's sitting on a lot of 1-stars here, and his health is so low that I'm surprised that he didn't roll it there.
It feels like a fairly common trait and a very valuable trait, I think, to have as well, is to recognize, like, what's the minimum you need to do, because that is kind of the ideal angle here. You know, your TFT team doesn't need to do everything; it needs to do enough. Yeah, and that is always going to be contextual to the lobby.
And this is going to be a 3-unit loss. I just don't agree with not rolling there when you're in a spot like he is, but he got punished for it, and he's a spot where, like I said, I think he needed to win a lot of rounds, if not most rounds, just one to get the streak going, to keep his health high, and he's already sitting at 48 at this point, and he's not going to be able to build up a great streak going into neutrals anymore.
Kurumx here with Trade Sector Blue Battery, an Idas early on. 7-win streak now for Kurumx as well. Yeah. Still yet to lose a round. Where does this actually kick in and take over here? I mean, we're looking at 8 sets that are on the bench and in play right now for Kurumx.
He did. I think he might level here. It's a very sweaty move, but he has a Nard that can instantly play. Yeah, so he levels here. Wow. He goes 7. This is something I like doing a lot as well, is when you're win streaking and you have the Shimmer in, because you get extra gold generation. It's an extra 2 gold here with the Moggle's Mail, and you have the trade sector, so you're like, it's not just that you're going to 7 now, and it's that every single round you get a free roll at 7 because of trade sector all through the rest of this stage. So it's a really good early play to make, especially when you're winning.
The Mogu's Mail it's like you have a free Hustler augment almost.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, because it's always going to go off, and you have damage in the set. You had something you could play. You have the Jade in early to help buff all your units. I mean, it's a really good spot for him to be. He's got 6 units in right around the Jade. It's a very strong spike. You should expect to see him win. Even if he doesn't win out the rest of the stage, he's going to be able to make 10 here. He'll be able to make 20, 30, 40 going into neutrals, and that's not a bad space to be. Even if he loses, it won't be by much.
Taking a look at the augments on the side. Soju won their last round, sticking at 48. Aesah at 56. zHydration 61. And Lucky at 64. Pretty cascading downwards in this one. It doesn't feel like a canyon between the places right now. It just feels like it lowers itself down right now with a very clear 1st to 8th style of image and what players need to do to stabilize these boards, strengthen them, and really fight with the rest of the team. A pair of Idas is available if Kurumx wants that.
This feels so bad to hit this Idas at this gold threshold, because it's like one of these things where obviously you would love to hit Idas too, but a lot of times you just end up sitting with 2 Idases, and it's such a gold siphon. I would expect to see him to pick it up still and drop the volley, drop the Lee Sin, but then there's also Corki, so it's like, do I just hold Idas and Corki and just sit on both here? It's a interesting spot.
Corki feels pretty strong in this perspective. You don't have like the strongest Corki items in the world. 20 is also an option here. Honestly, that was the one I didn't consider at all.
I still expect him to buy both here, because if he wins this fight, he'll have enough to get the Idas and the Corki, and still make 10.
Oh boy!
But it looks like he is gonna lose. Yeah, I mean, that Anivia is just way too strong. We got Shiv, he's level 7 as well, and it's a 3-item Anivia. And early Shioyu as well for Iniko. Iniko's in a really good spot with this, because the thing with the Shioyu comp is a lot of people just center around Shioyu too much. But if you really want to stabilize in the mid game here, then you have to be building towards Anivia items. And then unfortunately Shioyu kind of gets whatever items are left, and the cap's a little lower if you play around the Anivia. But you still have pivot angles end game, and it's much better to stabilize in the mid game than it is to, greed for that first place finish.
Aesah took a spatula off the carousel that has been, in my head, clearly turned into mages right now, and has a meditation plus a makeshift armor setup. And wow, let me tell you what, those two combined feel like an absolute banger of a combo. Like, don't equip items, get a big benefit. That feels like a big thumbs up from me.
It's not bad. It also makes things much simpler in the mid game. A lot of times I think with people, especially in low elo, they're like paralyzed by what item should I slam? Well, just slam nothing if you have augments like this.
Yeah, these are just beautiful. I mean, even if you do know what's going on, don't slam items because you have these two. Like, my goodness. In Nico, we just saw beat Kurumx, the player who was at the top of the lobby, and then Aesah swing that back around and beat Iniko.
Yeah. With the early siphon. That is a great spot to be, right? Oh man, you got the early Sona in too with the Mage Cap, and you get the Siphon early. See, this is one of the problems with Trainer is a lot of times you're left donkey rolling for a Siphon, and it's hard to stabilize with a Siphon on 7. But if you don't have to roll, you find one Siphon. That's all you need to be able to stabilize.
I'm very interested to see how this one pans out. I have noticed that the Mage Siphon has been a strong pickup for a lot of players, and honestly, just the focus of the damage, really, when you break it down from the top. So looking at things from top to bottom right now, Kurumx sitting at 87, and then finally, that's where that first real precipice kicks in. Darth Nub sitting at 66. Cascade that down to Lucky at 39. Soju, meanwhile, hitting a 3-star iiLucky, and a lot of 2-star Tristanas cropping up in this one. It really feels like there are a lot of trainers going on right now.
Yeah, you'll see the lobby just roll on 4-1 way more in tournament play than they do in ladder play. Again, it's one of these things where you have to stabilize. This stage 4 is make or break for players. And if you don't roll and everybody else rolls, you're in a lot of trouble. So we're getting some strong boards out here. Lucky hits your early Xiaoyu. These are not great items, unfortunately, on Xiaoyu. And he's going to go against that Aesah comp we just saw. And whew, man, the Xiaoyu's staying alive there, but that Namzi's doing some work.
I feel like that Xiaoyu is very underrated in this set by a lot of margins. You know, early on, I think Xiaoyu was just busted. Like, the early damage stack that was there was very strong. Losing to Aesah here, who I think has probably the strongest current augment combo that can take place. But 4-2 is really what's shaping it all here. For Lucky, I feel like that was a pretty unfortunate loss to be taking, because there's not too much more you can do to improve this board without some pretty big pickups.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting on a few items on his bench as well, despite having a couple of cybernetic augments. I maybe greeting a little bit too much. Finding early Yasuo is going to help, but you're looking at this board, right? And it has one upgrade, and this is what I was just talking about earlier. With you have to play around Anivia in the mid game, because if you play around Xiaoyu, you're stuck with a Xiaoyu 1 in this stage. It's just not enough to win fights. You're looking at a board like this. There's no upgrades. How do you actually expect to win fights against a lobby where people are hitting things? It's not a good spot to be.
It does feel like not the capped style of a board that you can have in a spot like this, but I'm kind of looking at the augments. Stam United here, not exactly strong, but it's not exactly weak either. Like, the whole team is passive damage, but oh my gosh, this was like the one board I didn't want to see Lucky go up against, because Soju hit everything. He hit on 4-1.
Everything is augments. He got best friends as the final augment there. That is, woo!
Yeah, this lobby is quickly going out of hand.
This is one of these games where if you're lucky, you're sitting here and you're thinking, "Oh man, Xiaoyu sucks. I'm not playing this again."
It did pretty well in this spot, all things considered.
Wow,
this is still a winnable position as well.
So the difference is he slammed the Knight's Edge, and he should have done that last fight. I think Knight's Edge is best in slot for Xiaoyu. And
whoa!
I mean, I thought Soju's board would win for sure. So there you go. We would both lose the challenge. Sometimes we put online. It's like, which board would win? We were both wrong.
Holy smokes! That was a big one.
Maybe Soju the one scratching his head now, because I mean, there's a reason Varus is not being 20 out of 20 by anyone anymore.
Wow, I just can't believe that one. Over to zHydration's board, and looking pretty stable here as well. Last Whisper, I feel like that Cannoneers is really one of the teams that you can use this reliably on, because if you get stuck on that frontliner where the Cannoneer, things just go south real quick.
Yeah, and he's got better together with triple aura items. This is a pretty good spot to be in. We got the front line with the gargoyles. And what's his econs? I guess the econ's one of those things that's a little awkward about this comp. The items look good, the econ's bad, and there's no real clear way to spike immediately without having another like 50 gold injected into your veins. So
it's kind of just like the zHydration play style in general, though, right? It's just you tend to be quite greedy and look for that big inflection point to spike the board. Like, you're not really looking to do things kind of consistently step by step. It's like take big jumps.
Yeah, look like Soju took another loss. I mean, that's the problem with Varus is you hit everything and you're still losing. Not good. Because if you're Soju, it's like, how do you even get stronger at this point? You've 3-starred iiLucky, you've 3-starred Varus, and you don't have any gold, so you can't really go 8. So you're gonna be stuck at 7, rolling
for that rod. I think that's a big one. That's the Rage Blade, I believe it was. That was the one thing missing on the Varus, if I recall.
Yeah.
Aesah already picked up a spatula here, but that was consumed.
Yeah,
what do you take?
Just take the item. Aesah's, I mean, his spot was looking real good. We saw the board wipe everybody. He's win streaking big time right now.
Robin at the 4-5 level up. Very common Robin feature is to, again, just continue to play aggressively. So the strongest board, until you have that clear image of what the end game looks like.
And he's
one
also
of the reasons why I feel like Robin's so strong is he understands these situations so well.
Yeah, it's just plays tempo so well, and we're sitting at Jeweled Gauntlet as well, or Jeweled Lotus, excuse me, for the Namzi, which is a big hit. So he's got Talon coming in here. That's interesting.
Talon, nothing to scoff at here.
Yeah, it's about this is like right between a mix between the Namzi Guild, Namzi Bruiser frontline, but it's a lot of damage. 2-star Talon, I think, is still one of the more underrated units in the game.
Aesah's board, I will admit, Aesah's board looked very weak from the get-go, but when you have Meditation plus Makeshift Armor plus Second Wind, you just kind of have like a natural front line taking place.
Yeah, it's a lot of great augments, but he's going to take big loss to Robin there, who's just hitting a lot of stuff early.
Robin's board's very strong from, I think, the overall perspective there. Aesah's board looked so weak. It was so many 1-stars across the board, and it still almost managed to fight through that. I feel like if Aesah can 2-star a bunch of stuff here, that's a big problem for the rest of the lobby.
This is interesting. I think this looks weaker for sure. I'm curious to see. Like, yeah, and I think he agreed with me there. So Siphon 2, I think for sure you play over those two, but Siphon 1, no way. This Talon 2 is way too much value right now.
It's adding so much damage to the board. You have passive units in play, you have units that are attacking quickly, just all the way across. It feels like it adds up to the Talon being the choice here.
Well, Lucky was able to go up to 8. Still really sitting on nothing here. He's still right on that 1-star Xiaoyu, which it gets a good positioning though.
Can this be enough?
Oh no! It turned away. Hello, Xiaoyu.
You think, McFly?
Wow,
I think up with that one. Oh gosh, what an unlucky turn for that Xiaoyu to take there.
Oh my god, you know that we were talking about League of Legends earlier, Admirable, and that's the kind of play that reminds you of League of Legends when your whole team is like, "Let's go Baron." You got that one guy going off to farm minions on the side lane. It's
I will say that watching Soju pick up that last win there, I feel like so much of that was related to that Rage Blade. As at the end of that, you saw there was 60+ stacks on that Varus at the end, and just able to squeak out the win versus iniko's Nivea here, which has been just an absolute carry throughout this lobby so far.
This lobby is so... You look at the top at 42 health, you look at 7th at 28, it could really swing. You're talking one round here, and if Aesah loses, Darth Nub loses, Robin loses, the whole lobby could be sitting right around 30 health.
That's the classic TFT, right? Just everything can change in one single moment.
Yeah, this is one of those games where you're praying for other people to lose more than you're praying for yourself to win.
That's I never really thought of to look at it that way, but that is absolutely what's happening here.
Oh, there's the Nico. Nico, I think, is like the hardest unit to hit right now, and fighting even one with those items on the Thieves' Gloves, not bad.
So how do you position this now with the Zeeks? Taking into account for this as well.
I think the Zeke is so awkward because I think where the Siphon, you always want Xiaoyu far left or far right, so it could have a chance of curving up. Sometimes I'll like cheese and frontline it in the corner if I think people aren't paying attention, but this gives the best chance of wrapping.
I'm just liking the 4 Evoker aspect. This is one of my favorite parts about this team is when you can actually get to the 4th Evoker. It feels like you actually justify having all these units in play. Going up against a Shyvana from zHydration's side with a Locket on the front 9 and double Chalice across this board. This Namzi's not very stacked right now, though. This is only a 2-star Namzi.
Yeah, it's a very bad Namzi. And the Shyvana is just a tank Shyvana here. There's not enough damage left to deal with this, and so the Xiaoyu is going to clean up. One of the things that's interesting about this comp is despite having 4 Evoker, one of the spats is on Nar, who does not really need it. And then there's 2 Sonas in, so it's a very awkward spot for Iniko to be in.
I kind of don't mind having 2 Sonas in play. You have 4 Evokers.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Why not double up on that?
But certainly rather have a Bard.
Oh, true story.
At this point.
Yeah, I'll take those as well.
Yeah,
but, I'm not going to mind the Sona.
It's not a bad situation considering he had no gold.
Ooh boy, Lucky here. It feels like the gameplay has been very tight across.
There's some stuff he would like in this shop.
This is looking like it might be a lock. Like a lock or an abandon. It feels like you can't abandon anything here. The 1-star Lulu, I'd be okay with settling for that one. Mm-hmm. Do you want this Yasuo?
Yeah, I think you almost have to, and then you pray for Yasuo off the carousel.
That's 2 rounds.
Yeah, but I mean,
oh no.
He just walks right into the Shroud. The Xiaoyu is going to get eaten here. Varus the same side. The nice thing about Edge of Night is you don't mind that as much because the Varus will still reset, but the Yasuo is going to go down pretty quickly.
Good stun from the Yasuo's angle. Xiaoyu taking the wrong side again, and it's going to get picked up by Frozen Heart. I will say that this Yasuo is kind of holding the fort on the corner right now, though. This is giving Xiaoyu a lot of time.
This Varus is doing no damage. You're like, if this 3-star Varus could not kill a Yasuo. That is not a good spot to be in.
Oh my gosh, Soju taking a massive hit on this one. Down to 4, zHydration to 2. Lucky's still sitting at 8. Did lock for the Yasuo.
You know, Soju went and played Vrown all week, came back and was like, you know, surely Varus is still good, right? And he just found out that Varus is, unfortunately, not good still.
Goodness gracious. Robin's sitting at 40. The only highlighted win streak in the lobby right now. Darth Nub took a couple hits, was sitting in first place coming into Stage 5. But we still have every player here. And I can't see the actual matchups in its perfect form across the board right now. But we could be going into the Stage 5 carousel with all 8 players still. That's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, this Darth Nub board is really interesting. They're running a Siphon and a Anivia duo carry, which is not you're not gonna go on like Meta TFT and find that listed under recommended comps to play, but it's good. It hits all the philosophies you need. There's good backline, there's good frontline, and wow, this 1-star Xiaoyu is doing way more work than I would have expected.
It's all of that is the passive demonstration, I think, as well. The Stand United and the 2 Cybernetics.
Yes.
Really piecing together so much of this here.
Big on my game. Unfortunately, zHydration goes out 8th there. Looking bad for my fantasy draft.
Hey, it's just game 1. We still got 5 more to go after this one. Soju, what is the pickup here? It looks like, was anti-healing, was that missing from Soju's board?
I mean, if that was missing, that's why he's not getting through those Jade boards.
Ah, that would make a lot of sense here. So utility, obviously a very strong pick for a lot of players at this point. Anytime to shore anything up. No one on the Cavalier angle. Or is Robin? Nope, that would have been a very easy pickup if they were on the Cav. No one's on the Cavalier angle at all. This feels like an uncommon spot as well.
Very weird for there to be no Cav players in the lobby. It's just such a strong front line. Yeah, but that's actually huge. Now he's got the anti-healing coming in.
Yeah, that's a huge difference for the way this board looks as well. And so again, just kind of looking to 2-star anything.
I mean, this is a pretty good looking board. Getting the Siphon to it. I mean, it doesn't have items anyway, so this is going to kind of come down to whether, if he can hit the Shroud on the right place, and he was able to just pop it off there.
Yeah, and this is, I think the pop off here is also just for, the cheese angle. You need to be winning. Like you said at the start of this, if you can squeak out one difference, that's
one.
All the world. You can have the 1st or 8th on the ladder. It's going to feel very good, but in tournament play, every single place is going to matter. One of the ways it's always been highlighted is the idea of the 1st or 8th players becoming 1st or 5th players instead. They end up dominating the tournaments.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of an awkward spot. The Xiaoyu's on the same side as Varus. I don't know if this Varus... Oh, the Xiaoyu's going the other way. But yeah, there's not enough damage on this board, I feel.
Still possible here. Hang on, this Varus it kind of hit the curve at this point. A lot of damage focused the other way. But the stun... Is that too much? Because they're about to get stunned again, and that's
it's
looking
about
like
to
Soju.
be knocked up, and Soju's about to take the 7th here.
Oh my gosh!
I'm looking at my draft where I had Soju and zHydration at my 2-3. I'm having some regret here.
It's game 1. Oh, Keen!
Hang
on, bud. We got 5 more games to go.
I'm out. We're pretending that didn't even happen. Like that.
/FF.
It's like what fantasy draft?
And Nico clinging on at 2.
There are so many Xiaoyu players in this lobby. So we were talking about this pre-tournament where we were talking about the endgame caps being so very variable for a lot of different reasons. There's just a lot of different type of boards you can play, and Jade is one of those comps where you hit 6 Jade. That is going to be Xiaoyu, which is 2 slots, and then 3 more Jades, which is 5 slots total. That leaves you 3 empty slots that you can flex a lot of different units into, and it's interesting to see what kind of boards people are playing.
Yeah, Jade is like one of the compositions I feel like that has just consistently been like verbally underrated. Not necessarily from the stats point of view, but a lot of players just talk about like, Jade's okay. Jade's okay. I felt like Jade has been just an absolute heater of a choice in this one. Lucky and Darth Nub taking 2 big hits here and going 5th and 6th with Kurumx squeaking out a top 4 finish. 3 players eliminated going into stage 6.
Yeah, Lucky squeezing out a 5th. He was in a spot I was not very excited for his spot, and for him to be able to pull out a 5th there speaks to the strength of the augments he had. Because I'm not sure he ever hit that Xiaoyu 2. So if you're sitting on Xiaoyu 1 and you're able to get a 5th, that is a win in my book.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to take a look at the bad luck aspect and say, okay, well, what went right here? And that in itself, I think, is enough of a skill expression, because it's just so difficult, I'd say, in a lobby of this style and of this caliber to really be peaking something when you have those unlucky panouts in terms of the top-down perspective.
Man, Robin's sitting on 9 now. He's able to have some extra gold to roll here, too, looking for the Zoe 2.
Ooh.
There it is.
Ooh!
Just hit. Is that... Alright, so you got Zoe 2. Basically, what he's going to look for is probably Bard over Soraka. Or whichever one you hit first, you can play Yasuo there as well. But this board is looking pretty capped at this point.
It is pretty tough to improve this, I'd say, overall. You have 2 strong frontliners that are shredding the front lines as well, with focused aspects that mitigate the damage. Your backline damage is insane. You have a Namzi to help support this damage, and you have a 2-star Zoe on board just to make sure that in case something goes wrong, Zoe can turn it around and make it go right. iniko here, the backline has been punished. The Xiaoyu is showing why it's not the absolute #1 choice. Robin picking up a win. Aesah on the highlighted win streak, tied with Robin on the health total right now. How rare is it to see that going into stage 6?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really weird spot. If you're sitting on Aesah's board, you just barely beat the Ghost, and now you're going to play the real board. It's going to be a tough spot for him to people come back on. And you were talking about like how much stronger can this board get. One of the ways you can get stronger is if you drop that front line, you go Shyvana and Nico instead, and you go Nami over the Soraka to keep the mages in. That's usually one way to cap it. But the money is almost always never there to be able to do that, and of course in this case it's not there as well. But that's just for viewers at home. If you're sitting in a spot where you have 60 gold and you're like, oh, how do I get stronger? That is one way to get a bit stronger.
A little advice from the mean Mr. Keen, kind of a nice Mr. Keen.
I try to be nice here or there.
I don't think you have to try. I think it comes naturally. Big heads up fight here for Aesah and Robin. And this is just to kick things off. This is game #1. We're just kind of sketching out how this tournament is going to feel and how it's going to look, and define the players who are going to have to inevitably take those risks as the day comes down. We're cutting out 50% of the field after day #1, and I will say that this Aoshin has demonstrated why it can be so strong, but at a 1-star versus this board, it's not going to be enough. Aesah has to hit or things are going south.
He's also level 8 versus level 9. This is a spot Robin should win every time. Like, even if he hits that 2-star Aoshin there, you're just talking one unlucky charge from the Siphon into like a Zoe laser, and that's the fight. But
there's one final spot here that Aesah could take, which is sell the... Oh gosh, there's so much you have to pick up here. I'm going to take back what I said. I think that Aesah is just kind of done. This is a positioning aspect and hope things go right. Yeah,
I mean, there's... he should just be dead here.
I don't disagree with you on this one, but I've seen some wild things on this set.
In League of Legends, I know some of the casters are sometimes taught to talk about, what are the ways somebody can still come back. And I'm just sitting here and like, okay, I can sympathize with them sometimes now, where it's like, oh nope, sometimes this is just an FF go next angle.
The probability aspect, while it may be extremely low, it is, I still think, technically there. It did not show up in this one. An absolute decisive win at the end. Robin kicking off with a big win streak and kicking off with a big first place finish. Not much of a surprise for Liquid Robin.
Liquid Robin, what a win from him. He's been having